Alright, so today I've got a review for you all of Neon Inferno on Nintendo Switch, a run-and-gun gallery shooter with a cyberpunk spine, and the easy comparison here is Contra meets Wild Guns. So basically, retro fans, you're going to want to pay attention. Alright, if you do enjoy this review, do me a favour, subscribe. We post Switch content here daily, and it helps out the channel a huge amount. So first, let's talk narrative, and true to the genre, it is light, but honestly, it's also a little bit more involved than many of its influences. Basically, there's not just an intro and outro cutscene. Rather, before each mission, you visit a bar and your boss gives you a brief on the mission at hand. Or at least, you can access that information if you want to. It's optional. Now, for those that just want to shoot stuff, and I don't blame you, basically, you can bypass it entirely. I love the option. Now, regarding that story, warring factions are battling for control of New York City, and you, an assassin for a crime syndicate, you're out to eliminate the opposition. So yeah, see, simple stuff, but more than enough. Now the all-important gameplay, and yeah, if you enjoy run-and-gun experiences, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you skip this one. I think the main reason is it's actually pretty unique. It takes two well-known formats, run-and-gun and gallery shooter, and blends them together beautifully. So what do I mean by that for anyone that hasn't played the incredible gallery shooter genre? Think Wild Guns. Well, basically, the run-and-gun side is, well, exactly what you'd expect. Move across the screen, shoot, and platform your way through increasingly tough locations and enemies. However, occasionally enemies will appear in the background or the foreground, and this is where the gallery shooter element kicks in. By holding the right trigger, you can target those enemies directly and also take cover. It is in these moments the game really comes into its own, especially when it combines these two in motion. There's even moments where you can jump between the foreground and the background yourself, and I love that mechanic because even though there's already a really nice selection of enemy types, they are kind of, I guess, genre staples, almost generic. Think bombers, heavies, melee units. So adding that extra layer makes everything feel fresh. That's especially true in the game's many sub-bosses and main bosses. You'll be attacking them side on, jumping between layers, and often using those transitions as a safety net when your health is low and you just need a breather. And believe me here, you will need a breather. True to its influences, this game is bloody difficult. Now you've got three difficulty options: hard, medium, and easy. Hard is essentially arcade mode. One life to clear the stage. Medium is what I played, and even then I still got crushed, but at least you do get continues and checkpoints. Then there's easy, which adds even more checkpoints and a bit of extra health. Now, I died a lot in my time with this game, and that first playthrough took me roughly 2 hours. Now, realistically, a deathless run, if I had to guess, maybe an hour. And while that's often the complaint from people who don't really get the genre, it's too short, this is a game built to replay. Genre fans, they want to master it. They want to perfect that run. And to push that even further, the game ranks you after each mission with a star rating. Now the max is 5, and yeah, the highest I've managed so far is a measly 2. Aside from the core gameplay loop, there's a couple of touches that I actually think many will really like. First, there's a deflect option for certain colour bullets. That's really cool. You can kind of fire them back at enemies. Then the game features local co-op. There's actually 2 characters to choose from right from the start, and that is a win. This same team actually made a great retro experience called Steel Assault, also on Switch, but one of my few complaints there was that it was single player only, so it is great to see local co-op added here. Finally, each mission gives you a monetary reward, and you can spend that in a store between missions. Now, it's not going to change your life. You can buy short-term power-ups, things like fire bullets or a shield that lets you take a few extra hits. It's simple, but it adds a nice bit of strategy. That does lead to one of my few complaints though. Once you've gone into a mission or loaded into the level itself, you can't back out and you can't visit that store again. I forgot to buy something at one point and just had to live with it. My only other minor gripe is the speed of the cursor in gallery mode. It's just not quite at the sensitivity I would like. Now there are speed options, but I don't know, getting it just to sit in that perfect place wasn't just quite there. Both small issues though, and look, it's nothing that tarnishes what is otherwise a great throwback with a dash of creativity. Visually then, it's a winner. It's nothing you haven't seen before. It's a dystopian cyberpunk setting with the neon turned up to 11, but I really appreciate this team's sprite work. The characters, enemies, and locations are gorgeous, big chunky pixels and thick line work. It just really delivers. The animations too have a nice heaviness to them. Massive explosions, powerful looking attacks, all of the impact you'd want from a run and gun. It is all here. In terms of options, there are a couple of visual filters too. The preset actually applies some pretty heavy scan lines over the entire image. I turn this off personally. Like, I grew up with and love CRT nostalgia as much as anyone really, but I do prefer a cleaner image. You can also add a curvature to the screen if you really want to commit to pretending you're sitting on the floor in the 90s. But yeah, if you like it, find it in there. Finally, cutscenes, there aren't loads of them, but the artwork is well done and they do commit to that same chunky pixel aesthetic, which keeps everything nice and consistent across the whole experience. Audio finally on this, I didn't expect it, but it surprised me. I went in fully ready for a straight synthwave soundtrack, and yes, for the most part, that's exactly what it delivers. It's solid work. Not the most inventive I've heard, and probably not something I'd listen to outside the game, compared to, let's say, something like Hunt Down, which was an absolute banger. However, there are a few moments where it completely abandons that expectation, and that's where it shines. For example, there's a mission where you're breaking into an opera house, and suddenly the game switches to this operatic theme, and it is incredible. It goes beyond the usual adrenaline injection these games chase and actually adds something to the atmosphere of the location. I'd honestly love to see them experiment more with that idea in future releases. Alongside that then, finally, for audio, you've got a healthy selection of sound effects, explosions, gunshots, all the crunchy impact you'd want. It is all here. So the final verdict, Neon Inferno is an absolute winner. It's relentless, stylish, and a must-buy for run and gun fans. It nails the core action, blends two gameplay styles in clever ways, looks gorgeous, and sounds better than expected. Plus, there's just enough extra touches to keep you coming back. There is a couple of small UI quirks, but aside from that, look, this is exactly what I want from a retro throwback. So for me today, it's an amazing 9 out of 10. Alright, so will you be checking it out? Let me know in the comments. And if you did enjoy this review, do me a favour, hit subscribe. I post near daily Switch reviews, performance tests, deals, and lists. So yeah, helps out the channel a huge amount. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers all.